Welcome to It's a Big, Big World.
Whoa, hey there. Yeah,
Meet Snook
your friendly neighborhood sloth.
and his curious friends.
We're monkeys. My friend Bob the Anteater. Oh, butterflies.
Hi, Snook.
Ah!
Who live in the World Tree,
The World Tree is home to all my friends.
where they explore new things every day.
Why are you dressed as ants? To get to know them better. Hey, did you know they barely ever sleep? And when they do, it's only for a few minutes?
Really?
Celebrate the joy and discovery
We're doing the monkey.
of our big and wondrous world.
Go for it, Bob. It's a big world. Yeah, it's a big, big world. It's a big world. Such a big, big world.
So come, experience the fun.
Thanks, Snook. You are so it. Hey, Bob. You're it.
And share in the adventure with Snook and all his friends.
And we're all here in the World Tree waiting for you.
It's a big, big world.
Big enough for you and me. It's a big world after all.
It's a Big, Big World was a kids show that aired from 2006 to 2010 on PBS Kids. Created by Mitchell Craigman, the GOAT, the same guy who made Bear in the Big Blue House. The show revolves around a group of animals living in what they call the World Tree, learning lessons and having fun. The overall design and aesthetic is kinda weird. It's not the most appealing show. Don't get me wrong, I've seen worse, especially on PBS. I never liked the look of the busy world of Richard Scarry, and we've all seen JJ the Jet Plane. But still, it takes some getting used to. The characters in the show are performed using green screen puppetry, which I think is what they did in the Labyrinth.
What the fuck?
Not only does that allow you to see their bottom half,
Where's my dick at?
but it also gives them a full range of motion. In doing so, some of the movements can be a little jarring and off-putting. Like, I know they're puppets and some things just can't be helped, but still. And because they're acting on a green screen, they use this disgusting forest texture with this blurred effect. It looks like something out of Film Cow. But besides that, I kinda like the show. It gives off this cozy, calm nature. And I do see the similarities to Big Blue House, but Big World has more than enough going on to stand on its own. For example, I would argue that Big World is a little bit funnier than Big Blue House. Granted, I haven't seen a Big Blue House in years and I just finished watching the Big World, but still. The tongue-in-cheek style of humor helps add to the charm and character of the show. It also runs at a slower, more deliberate pace, not in a hand-holding kind of way, but more like they're just taking their time, if that makes sense. I didn't watch the show growing up, but I distinctly remember the theme song.
It's a big world. It's a big, big world. It's a big world. Such a big, big world. It's a big world. It's a big, big world. It's a big world. It's a big, big world.
Like, why does this kinda slap? And it's not just the theme song. Land of Discovery and You Are Who You are pretty good. Curve of the World is a dope song. Low-key a banger. And Goodnight Moon is a hidden gem. Though not as good as Bear and Luna, but still solid. But my favorite is probably the Goodbye song.
World goes spinning round and round, it's true. We've had our time and now we're through.
Why is it so smooth? PBS Kids has some great theme songs. You got Arthur reading Rainbow Between the Lions. And do y'all remember Zula Patrol?
Way out where the planets do the hula. Spin and shout till you find yourself on Zula.
This is another show I never watched but somehow retained the theme song. But let's get back on track. Big World ran for 2 seasons. Season 1 primarily took place in the World Tree. But to my knowledge, Season 2 was when they introduced live segments in the real world. Most of the time it would be just Snook visiting a zoo or a classroom.
I'm here at Pike's Farm with Jim Pike. Hey, Jim.
Damn! Why is this nigga so big?
He is too damn big!
How tall is Snook? Alright, so I can't find the canonical height of Snook, but homie is significantly taller than this grown man. I mean, look at this. He is towering over this man.
Hey, Jim.
Hi, Snook.
It's so good to see you.
It's good to see you.
And look at how he's standing. He seems a little nervous. You scared, bro?
I'm scared of him. I'm scared.
You know what this reminds me of? Remember when everyone realized that Pokemon weren't that big? Like how Charizard is only like 5'7", but Infernape is 3'11"? How the hell does that work? And while we're talking about it, how is a Slowbro the same size as a Blastoise? I keep going off track.
Doink.
PBS Kids.
Hey, welcome back to the big world.
Snook, played by the GOAT, Peter Lenz. Snook is great, and my favorite character. He makes up about 70% of the show's cozy feel. He just has a warm, comforting presence about him.
Oh, hey there. I was just doing some work around the treehouse, but I couldn't resist stopping to smell this flower.
One thing I found interesting about Snook is that he's not as expressive as some of the other characters. Rather than show it with his face, he would talk with his hands or shake his head to demonstrate emotion, which didn't take away anything from the character. If anything, it just added to his calm demeanor. He regularly breaks the fourth wall. Usually he'll greet the audience, and throughout the episode, he'll ask questions and provide context for the topic or a situation. He helps provide clarity and understanding to the younger animals, either by explaining why other animals do what they do, or by talking about their role and purpose in the world tree. They play him up to be pretty knowledgeable, and I gotta give him his props because I couldn't do it. They constantly come to this nigga's house with questions and concerns. Homie's either taking a nap, reading a book, or eating some eucalyptus, and then these kids just bust up in his house on some stupid shit. Like, leave me alone, bruh. Homie could be a little cringe at times. A lot of his jokes are just him being slow and big, which gets really old really fast. Also, something else that's kinda weird. Snook stays the same throughout the whole series except during the live segments. They dumb him down for some reason. He starts talking like he's 5.
So, Rob, is that a baby sea turtle?
What do you mean, is that a sea turtle? You can discern the difference between an amphibian and a reptile, and yet you don't know a sea turtle when you see one?
Bitch, are you dumb?
You're friends with an actual turtle.
You rescued that little turtle?
Yeah.
What did you rescue it from? Was it like stuck on a tall building and you had to go fly up and rescue it?
Fly up and say, nigga, what are you talking about? Why did they make him so dumb?
It's like she's 5.
But besides that, Snook is the best thing about this show, and I'm surprised he didn't get a spin-off or something. Like deadass, I would watch a whole show about Snook just hanging out. Oko, also played by Peter Lenz, Oko is supposed to be this old wise man giving random pieces of advice that don't really make sense. He only appears in season 1, which doesn't surprise me because Oko doesn't really do much. He's barely in the show, and when he does grace us with his presence, it's only to say some random shit and then he leaves. And that's it. Besides his songbook episode, he does nothing interesting or special. Burdette, played by Melissa Creighton, Burdette is a bird who's obsessed with being a bird. And that's about it. They kinda play her conceitedness up for innocent laughs, but it comes off as just annoying. Every time there's a problem and Burdette shows up, you can guarantee she ain't gonna do nothing but talk about her colors and her feathers.
She don't do nothing.
There was an episode where Snook was trying to write a poem about the world tree, and she spent the whole episode trying to get him to write about her instead. Not everything's about you, Karen. We'll see her do some selfless things every now and then, and she's quick to amend her mistakes when pointed out. But I don't know, she's alright. Smooch and Winslow are played by Amy Garcia and Tyler Bunch, respectively. Smooch is the hyper-curious one, and Winslow is the goofy, dumb one. I don't know how to feel about them. On one hand, they're one of the more entertaining characters in the show, but on the other hand, they cause most of the problems in the show. Either it be by misunderstanding a situation, accidentally hurting themselves, or just being annoying. But with that said, they're also pretty funny. They play off each other really well, and their banter with the other characters are pretty good too. And I want to hate them, but I can't. They make every episode, to be honest. The show naturally has a slow progression, but I've noticed that when Smooch and Winslow show up, it picks up a little bit. If I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably say Smooch. There's an episode where she starts beefing with Burdette for eating her berries, and it gets pretty heated.
I would really appreciate it if you could leave my garden alone. Ouch! Well, okay then. Ugh, monkeys.
Hold up! Time out! Time
Bob, played by James Godwin. Bob is an anteater that looks nothing like an anteater.
Jesus Christ, how horrifying.
He's anxious, timid, and a nervous wreck, especially when it comes to ants. See, Bob has a thing for ants. He's obsessed with them. He's really concerned with whether or not the ants like him, which might be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. I mean, look at him. Homie is going through it. Bobby acted like he got the shakes from not being around his ants. Like they're just ants. He eventually gets over his ant problem and forms a friendship with one of them, which makes him more tolerable. Also, Bob is one of the few characters besides Snook to get their own solo songs. None of them are good, it's just something to mention. Also, there's this running gag that Bob just owns a bunch of stuff, like a pool table, an arcade, and a waterbed.
Besides, Ick likes water, and I have a waterbed. Like, what's a waterbed?
And it's not just him. Madge has a whole bookshelf with maps and shit. Where are they getting this stuff from? Ick, played by Tim Legassi. I don't like Ick. I hate his face, I hate his design. Nigga look like a shark tail fish. I don't like him. He has a rap called King of the Pond, which is the worst song in the show.
I'd rather be here than in Loch Ness, but it's always been my dream to have a second home in the clear blue waters off of Mexico. Arriba!
King of the pond, everybody knows he's the king of the pond. King of the pond.
Turn it off! Turn that off!
Like Oko, he doesn't really do much. He's barely in the show, and he also doesn't return for season 2. Ick can be irritable and kind of a dick. He likes to think he knows everything, but in reality, he knows nothing outside of the pond. There's an episode where he keeps feeling left out because he ain't got no legs. So he decides to leave the pond and move in with one of the other animals, until Snook tells him how important he is to the World Tree, and that if he left the pond, he would die. And homie had no idea.
Dumb bitch!
Tim Legassi also played Wart the Frog. He doesn't do anything that memorable besides just looking confused. Well, the most I remember about him was that he was always upset about something. I think he's the youngest of all the animals, so they use him a lot to talk about confidence, self-worth, and insecurities. But I guess it didn't work because he also doesn't come back for season 2. Madge, played by Julie Westwood. Madge is an old turtle that lives at the bottom of the World Tree, and she kinda sounds like Julie Andrews. She's definitely the smartest character in the show. When Snook doesn't have an answer, he goes straight to Madge. She's traveled all over the world, which I can only assume is why she has a whole library in her home. I guess I could let that previous statement slide. But that still doesn't explain how Bob has a whole pool table in his house, and guess what? Madge also doesn't return in season 2. I'm beginning to see a trend here. Let's think about it for a second. Oko, Ick, Wart, Madge. What do they all have in common? They're all fucking ugly. Too ugly for children's television. Oko looks like a dirty monkey cat. I bet his bed probably stinks. Ick looks like that STD puppet from Chappelle's Show. Wart's looking like he's suffering from jaundice. And Madge looks like she owns slaves. Riona, also played by Tyler Bunch, debuted during season 2. She's a baby sloth who's apparently Snook's niece. Because reasons, I think she's supposed to act as the new comic relief. I don't know what else I can add. I mean, she's a baby character, being a baby. I don't know what more you want me to add. She does nothing for the show, basically filling the same role as Wart. She's a discount Wart and a bootleg Elmo.
Oh my god.
Hey, it's me, Snook. Come play and learn at pbskids.org. See you there.
Taking care of you when I'll be taking care of you whenever you get blue. I'll be taking care of you.
It's a Big Big World wasn't a bad show. It's not bad, just forgettable. It's not the funniest or the most appealing show out there. And it wasn't groundbreaking for children's media, it was just fine. But fine wasn't good enough, because after 2 seasons, it would be canceled due to low ratings. To which, am I surprised?
Fuck no, baby!
Like, come on, the best thing about the show was the music and Snook, and that's about it. And not to mention the competition, like given the option to watch It's a Big Big World or Fetch with Ruff Ruffman, I'm gonna watch Fetch. And that's not to take away anything from the show. If you can say you've learned something from It's a Big, Big World, if it had a hand into making you into who you are today, then it did its job. But you don't have to take my word for it.
You have to go, I know it's time, so give me 5. This whole world is yours and mine.